Hi, sixth grade. I hope you had a good weekend. Today we are going to move on to our review of chapter 3, which was divisibility. And we did this way back in October last year. So we made like flip books and we talked about all the different rules, but you may not remember them. So you might need to go back to chapter 3, and I'm going to go over them now. I happened to find these were my notes from chapter 3 back in October. So this is what you have already somewhere, but regardless, I'd like you to rewrite them today for notes, okay, so that I know that they're fresh in your mind. So divisibility, right, when we're talking about whether something is divisible, that means that a whole number can be divided by two other whole numbers and no decimals, no remainders, no fractions are left over, right? So if you take a number like 12, it's divisible by 3 because when you divide it into 3s, you get 4 groups of that. And there's none left over, there's no remainders, there's no fractions, okay? So divisible. Let's write that down. Next, we have that long list of rules, okay? So a whole number is divisible by 2 if the number is even, right? So that means that that number ends in 2, in 4, in 6, in 8, in 0. If it ends in any of those numbers, then the number 2 goes into it. Next, we have the number 3 with an example. If the sum of the numbers digits is divisible by 3, sum is the key word. In the number 715, if we add those numbers, so 7 plus 1 plus 5, we get 13. Does 13, is it divisible by 3? Can 3 be divided by 13 without any decimals, any remainders, any fractions? The answer is no. So that means 3 does not go into 715. With the number 150, when we add these numbers, 1 plus 5 plus 0, we get 6. Can 3 be divided into 6? It can. The answer is 2, and that has no leftovers, no remainders, no fractions, no decimals. So that means that 3 goes into 150. So without having to do the long division, right? That was the motive for learning these tricks, is to answer big problems, right? Like long numbers with these rules, right? Just by looking at them, we just by looking can tell. The next one is 5. So a number can be divisible by 5 if it ends in 0 or 5. The number 6. The number is divisible by 6 if it's divisible by both 2 and 3. Number 9 and 3 are similar if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. So that means the same rule. Okay? These are similar. 3 and 9. So if we pick a number like 981. That means I'm going to take 9 plus 8 plus 1, and 9 plus 8 is 17. 17 plus 1 is 18. Does 18, can it be divided by 9? Yes, the answer is 2. Not 2.5, not 2 remainder 1. So because it goes in evenly, then the answer is yes, 9 is divisible. Okay, so 981 can be divided by 9. Lastly, we have 10 if the number ends in 0. Okay, so 5 and 10 are also similar. Okay, if it ends in 5 or 0, 5 goes into it. If it ends in just 0, 10 goes into it. 2 and 3 have to work for the number 6, and 2 has a lot of correct answers, right? They just have to be even. They have to end in an even digit. Hopefully, this is all back in the front of your mind. We're going to start our review for chapter 3 on page 366. This was our old homework that day in October. Ignore that one. On page 366, we're going to do numbers 1 through 6. So they're going to give you a number like maybe 225. And what you're going to do is go through the whole list of our rules. Okay, so if we did this one as an example, does it end in an even number? 5. Is 5 even? Is it 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0? It is not. Okay, so 2 does not work. Okay, if I check for 3, I'm supposed to add them. So 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. Does 3 go into 9? It does. It does. So 3 goes into this number. How about 5? Does it end in 0 or 5? Yes, it does. So 5 goes into this number. 6. If it's divisible by 2 and 3, it did not work for 2. So since 2 did not go into it, 6 also does not go into it. For 9, I add them again, just like I did for 3. And when I added, I did 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 5 is 9. Does 9 go into 9? Yes, it does, one time. One time. And then 10. Does it end in 0? No, it does not. So my answer is 3, 5, and 9 for this problem. When you finish the homework, please send me a picture of your notes and your work. Thanks.